Top of the day, beautiful people. Let's do this real quick. I'll already have this saved where I can copy and paste it from somewhere. Another link for Facebook. Okay. Auntie Grand Rising, Mom, shalom, shalom. I can paste this when we're done. If you two start acting up. Matter of fact, I ain't gonna need to do this after today. What am I talking about? All right, y'all. Okay, we good. We good. Y'all, we is on the hour count down. This is the last day you gonna see us with this background. We about to do a thing. We about to do a thing today. Okay. I ain't even wrote my notebook. Hold on. Okay. We're gonna try it for the second time. But we feel good. We did the final walk with Peace House yesterday. It was pretty good. The sellers were still there. They was moving out the last bit of their stuff. Their movers was running behind, so they was frustrated with the movers and stuff. So as long as y'all out of here, bye. We'll give y'all the noon. We signed at 10, but we got to drive to Virginia Beach. It's gonna take about 45 minutes, and then we got to sit and close, and then we got to drive all the way back. We gonna have keys in hand. As long as y'all going everybody out and all whatever, we cool. So we spent about 2 hours there yesterday. Like we were already moved in, everything. We had already had our uh internet equipment and all that stuff sent to the house. Well, it wasn't supposed to come till today, but it got there early, so we had to let the seller's agent know that. Well, clearly they knew it was there, but when I got the text saying your equipment has been delivered, I had to let them know like, hey, it arrived a day early. We didn't know it was gonna come early. Could you please just like set it off to the side or something, And we get it when we do the walkthrough yesterday, but we just left it there, pushed off into the corner. They was about done. They just had like a couple more big items to pull out, and then they was done. So we super excited. All right, so we about to do that. So I'm gonna spend just the hour today, not going over anything because we got to get out of here. It's gonna take us 45 minutes to get to to get to the signing. Super excited. First time ever. This is our first home. Some people say, what y'all about 43 years old, right? Yeah. Y'all got 18 kids? About right. Sound about right. Technically 6. And y'all just now buying a home? Yep. You must be new. You haven't heard me talk about all our shenanigans with money and stuff and not doing what was right. We had to dig ourselves out a big hole. All right, y'all. Enough about that. So let's go. Happy Friday, everybody. It is July the 1st. It's also a little light skinned birthday today. Isaiah, the one that like to fight everybody, he turns 8 today. So he might bust in here in the door before the video over, but we'll see. All right, y'all. It is Friday, July the 1st, 2022, day 147 of year 4. We're reading through the books of the Law and the Prophets and of the 4-year consecutive day count. That's trash. Day 1,165. Now it's clicking what Bella was saying. She said, Mom, the pen is broken. I'm like, girl, leave my pen alone, put it down. It's not broken. Clearly it is. One of them must have pulled the ink thing is here. Somebody untwisted the writing part of it. Yeah. That's what, and I threw it away. I saw it sitting on the bed. I'm like, where did this come? She tried to tell me. But anyway, we're picking back up on page 250 in the Book of Divinity in Oahspe. And after we're done with the hour reading, we might get done with it today. We might. If not, we probably definitely finish it on Saturday. But let's get started. Father, yeah, I tell him when he come. Uncle JB, shalom. Thank you, thank you. I tell Isaiah happy birthday. He gonna be calling you if you don't call him first. All right, y'all. I didn't put my marker on the right page. Okay. Father, you know who it is. We heal. Still searching for truth. All right, chapter 12, y'all. The next resurrection, page 250. The next resurrection was 6,000 million souls, and God and his lords and sub gods had maintained the diva and maintained all the orders of heaven and the divisions and kingdoms, save what had confederated with Ahura and his kingdoms. And God and his lords had preserved their colleges, schools, factories, hospitals, and nurseries, and their standard in the temple with mortals and of mortals who remained faithless, that is, the Ehuan race, preserved in purity, God, his lords, and Ashars held command for the glory of Jehovah. But of the mongrels who were multiplying fast on the earth, Ahura, his lords, and Ashars held command. But alas, also for the grade of Ahura's host in heaven. In less than 1,000 years, he had abolished his colleges and schools, save what pertained to acquiring a knowledge of the earth and atmosphere. He taught not his people to look higher for other worlds, and herein he began the work which was in after time to be his own downfall. Jehovah had said, whoever provideth not a philosophy for the endless acquisition of knowledge dammeth up the running waters I have made. I'm gonna have to take this out of this doggone packet, use like a little cup and sit in me so I can just grab them. I'll read this again, verse 3. Jehovah had said, whoever provideth not a philosophy for the endless acquisition of knowledge dammeth up the running waters I have made. Suffer Ahura to teach what he will. The time will come when he will be obliged to find an outlet for my created beings. And rather than acknowledge me and my person, he will profess to send souls back to earth to be reincarnated. So this is where it started, huh? Okay. Suffer Ahura to teach what he will. The time will come when he will be obliged to find an outlet for my created beings. And rather than acknowledge me and my person, he will profess to send souls back into the earth to be reincarnated. Okay, yeah, I can see. Okay, what he said. He's gonna when the mortals start asking or they reach the highest level of whatever it is that you allow it to be while you down there falsely ruling, you're going to need to find an outlet because they're going to become a little bit smarter and they're going to be wondering what is there has to be something other than us, right? Great Spirit, Jehovah, peace and blessings. Trina, hey girl, hey. So he said he's going to have to find some type of outlet, and so that's when the reincarnation started. Oh, then you got to start all over and just do it again and perfect everything you didn't perfect your first life. Okay, I get it. Uhura's heavenly kingdoms number more than 6,000 million souls. Just in case somebody knew, we don't. That's a reincarnation as a false doctrine. I'm just saying, just in case somebody may have just like come in on that and didn't know. Okay, Uhura's heavenly kingdoms number more than 6,000 million souls, and half of them were little better than Druhas, being slaves to certain masters, doing whatsoever they were bidden without knowledge or desiring to know the reason therefore. As yet, there were 600 years to pass before another dawn of Dan, in which God, his lords, and their people had faith that Jehovah's host would come from on high to help deliver heaven and earth out of darkness. On the other hand, Ahura had, although having been taught the cycles in his early education, spread the word abroad in heaven and earth that there were no cycles, that as things are, they had been and would continue to be. So, as much as God's host prophesied a coming light, Ahura and his host prophesied that nothing of the kind would come. Ahura, moreover, sent the following order to his lords to be taught in heaven and earth, to wit, am I not he who inspired Zarathustra the all pure? Spake I not to him face to face? Are not all created things my own? Who then knoweth but I will light up the world again? Behold, I am the personation of Ormazd, who was Voidance, but now is me, Ahura Mazda. In me only is life and death and resurrection. Whoever calleth Ahura Mazda is mine and within my keeping. Suffer not thy judgment to be warped by prophets who hope for impossible things. In the sixth Dan, in the 80th year, Ahura's numberless heavenly kingdoms began to be disturbed by his sub gods' lack of advancement, and so 60 of them congregated together and appealed to Ahura Mazda, saying, in reverence to thee, O thou all highest God, many hundreds of years we have served thee, and we have paid thee tribute whenever thou requirest of us. We have helped to adorn thy capital, seat us with diamonds and pearls. We have laid thy streets. Thy mansions have we built with precious gems. As to thy throne, what one of us is there but hath contributed to glorify it before thee? Yea, in all things have we been most loyal and tributary to thee. Nor are we unmindful of our own wisdom. We remember thy arguments of old. Thou didst say to thy God, behold, thou hast long promised we should be raised to more exalted kingdoms, but behold, 200 years have elapsed and there is no advancement. Yep, see, they thinking about this. This is it. You mean to tell us that this is it? There is nothing else. Like we ain't like what do we do now? Because it seems like we can't advance any further. What's next, oh God? Right? Nor, verse 10, nor are we unmindful of our own wisdom. We remember thy arguments of old. Thou didst say to thy God, behold, thou hast long promised we should be raised to more exalted kingdoms. But behold, 200 years have elapsed and there is no advancement. This thou this thou didst use as an argument for seeding from thy God's kingdoms. Behold, now we have served thee in thy kingdoms more than 1,000 years. We come to thee to know wherein we can now serve thee, that thou may exalt us into kingdoms commensurate with our wisdom and power. To this, Ahura replied, saying, most humble and well meaning lords and sub gods, why came ye not before me face to face? Have ye consorted in private? Why have ye consorted in private? Was not my capital and before my throne the proper place for your argument? Had ye suggested in any way whereby advancement was possible unto you, I had answered your demands. But his lords and sub gods came not before him, but sent this answer to wit, as thou promised us advancement, provided we serve thee, so promise we our ashars and our marshals and captains. Now they come to us, saying, for hundreds of years have we served, give us preferment, but we have nothing to give. Think not, O God, that we are unwise, or that we hunger and come begging, or that diadems or gems or costly thrones would satisfy us. We know that thou hast to give. We know what thou hast to give. I'm sorry. We know what thou hast to give. Promises. We know every corner of thy vast kingdom, and that all places are full, and that thou canst not exalt us. Wherefore then should we have spoken before the throne and seat us? Would not our voices but breed mischief amongst thy other gods and lords? Rather let us err ourselves, that we should injure thee and thy kingdoms. Hear us then, O Ahura Mazda. I bet it's a little light skin. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. It's a wake up, baby. Guess what today is? It is. How old are you today, baby? 8. All right, y'all. Rather, let us err ourselves than that we should injure thee and thy kingdoms. Hear us then, O Ahura Mazda. He ready. He got on his tennis shoes and everything. And socks, mind you. Sometimes they just throw on their shoes. They be like, if you don't go put on some socks with them tennis shoes for your shoes start stinking. Okay. Verse 13. Whence the desire for endless advancement, if this heaven be all? If a little knowledge giveth power, wherein is not great knowledge desirable? We have destroyed our great colleges, saying, higher than we must not go. Remember thou, O Ahura, we were students under the faithless God and lords when thou seatest, and thou saidest unto us, behold, the long training of your course, a curriculum of 1,000 years. Come with me, and I will give you kingdoms at once. So we came to thee, and we were suddenly puffed up with great pride. Behold, now we look abroad, and the same stars shine upon us. We have not visited them. We know not how to go so far. Hey, son, your dad is in there. Somebody must be in y'all bathroom too.
No, he's going to be in there.
Oh, okay.
Mom?
Oh, you. Oh, y'all ready? You got on shoes too. What? Oh, I didn't put on my watch.
I was ready once I woke up.
Oh, really? Have everybody washed their face and brushed their teeth and all that good stuff? Y'all just woke up, put on socks and shoes. I mean, put on clothes, put on socks and shoes and stuff.
I kept on my socks.
Okay. Okay. Everybody ready to go. Or did Jeremiah wake y'all up?
No, Josh woke me up.
And everybody just decided to pull themselves all the way together? Well, very good, son. No, put that back.
Can you put a skeleton?
Everybody got y'all, everybody ready?
We've been ready. like 11 minutes.
Babe, the mini Murphs are completely dressed, shoes on, socks and shoes. We've been doing the countdown. G and Grant Rising, Robin, Salama, ready. Trina, 7:40. Josh said 11 minutes ago they was ready. Let me finish. Hold on. Where we at? We only 18 minutes, so y'all still got about a good 40, 32 minutes. Okay. Okay, verse 14, I read again. So we came to thee, and we were suddenly puffed up with great pride. Behold, now we look abroad, and the same stars shine upon us. We have not visited them. We know not how to go so far. The countless ethereal worlds lay beyond ours. We are told that they are habitable. We know not. We have no knowledge enabling us to get away. You can fit Jeremiah's shoes?
No. They can't be too small for him, but he can't fit them.
They look like they about fit.
They're about half inch too small, too big.
Where are your tennis shoes?
I think so.
Jeremiah got all kind of stuff he done bought.
Oh.
Okay. So I'm gonna try and get through this morning with as less interruptions as possible. Everybody's super excited. We about to go sign.
Oh, that's what y'all. I was gonna leave y'all here.
So nobody can scuff up her shoes. You can't do this.
So y'all.
Okay. Verse 14. So we have come to thee, and we were suddenly puffed up with great pride. Behold, now we look abroad, and the same stars shine upon us.
You got some over there, right?
We have not visited them.
Yeah.
We know not how to go so far. The countless Ethereal worlds lay beyond ours. We are told that they are habitable. We know not. We have no knowledge enabling us to get away from these heavens, save indeed back to the filthy earth. They call the earth filthy. Indeed, back to the filthy earth. To this Ahura replied, saying, it is plain to me that ye are beside yourselves. This heaven is good enough. If there be higher heavens, let them come or stay. I go not to them. What? Okay,
We
so
get the car now, or we pack everything up.
The truck.
The car.
What car? Oh, your car?
Yeah.
When we pack everything up, we're gonna go past and get a pitch. I don't know. I don't know if it's gonna be today or tomorrow. But I got a call Rico and tell him I'm gonna come to it.
Alright. So sorry.
nah. All he worried about is his car.
That's
He don't
it.
say good morning,
No.
mom, dad, I love you. Kiss my foot or nothing. What time we going to get my car?
Like he paid for anything. Got the whole damn thing done. He just wish I could do like that when I was coming up. Like, man, you know, hey, pops, don't give me a car.
Verse 15. To this, Ahura Mazda replied, saying,
What's up, Mom?
it is plain to me that ye are beside yourselves.
What you doing?
This heaven is good enough.
Woke up.
If there be higher heavens, let them come or stay. I go not to them. But in truth, with your present convictions, I would be an unwise God not to grant you dismissal from my kingdoms. You promised them then, now, when the time comes, it's like, ain't nobody hiding this. Y'all gonna get out of here. Y'all get beside yourselves, ain't you? I done took care of you these last 1,000 years. Go on, get back on post. It's about to be an uproar in his kingdom. This ended the matter, and the 60 sub gods then deliberated on their course and finally sent to God in Moru the following address, to wit: in reverence to thee, God of the faith is. Oh, they looking for the faith is now. No, Bella not. Bella just opened her eyes. Sis, go ahead and get ready.
Ready, Mom?
This ended the matter, and the 60 sub gods then deliberated on their course and finally sent to God in Moru the following address, to wit: in reverence to thee, God of the faiths in Jehovah, we have had sub kingdoms and know our rank is beneath thine. We are reaching outward and onward. To thee we submit our case. First, then, there are 60 of us of the rank of sub gods, and we hold 700 million subjects. Disaffection hath arisen betwixt ourselves and Ahura Mazda, from whom we are alienated. But whether we shall unite our hosts into a new kingdom of our own, or affiliate with some mighty God, that is our question. What preferment canst thou give unto us if we turn our subjects over to thee? God answered them, saying, brothers, hear me patiently and consider my words. First, then, I am not the God of the faithists, nor of any other people, but God of the locality which was assigned to me by the Father through his Son. Neither can ye give your subjects unto me, for by my service to Jehovah I can have nothing, and least of all my brothers and sisters. In the next place, I can give you no preferment. I have nothing, neither to give nor to sell. Wherein the Father giveth me wisdom and power, I impart them unto others. Besides, until ye have also learned to know that ye have nothing, neither subjects nor jewels, also desiring nothing save wisdom and strength to impart to others, how hope ye to gain admittance into my places of learning? That was good. He said, besides, until ye have also learned to know that ye have nothing, neither subjects nor jewels, also desiring nothing save wisdom and strength to impart to others, how hope ye to gain admittance into my places of learning? And lastly, since ye have kingdoms of your own already, raise ye them up, and thus prove unto me your just merit. So you want some of this? Show me what you can do with your own subjects. Did you say how many you said you had 100 billion? Go ahead and raise them up, and let me see how serious you are about this. To this, the confederated gods replied, what meanest thou? That gods and angels must labor for others than themselves forever and receive nothing therefore? God answered them, even so, save and except ye shall receive an abundance of happiness, and it will endure forever. Here the matter ended. Here the matter ended for 2 whole years, and the sub gods understood not the plan of Jehovah's kingdoms. But their kingdoms were out of sorts, having no head, and hundreds of thousands of their subjects were deserting them and returning down to the corporal earth, becoming wanderers and druhas. Finally, the sub gods again appealed to God in Moru, inquiring as followeth, to wit, is not a God, whether he be for another or for himself? Behold, we have helped to build up Ahura. He is a mighty God. If we affiliate with thee, we labor to build thee up also. Yea, we will adorn thy kingdom and thy great heavenly city. But since we have been sub gods, we desire not to enter to thy service as menials and servants. What then shall we do that both thou and ourselves may have honor and glory? God answered them, saying, ye cannot serve me. I have no servants. Serve ye Jehovah only. I like this dude, right? See, he on what we on. Serve ye Jehovah only. Behold, we are all brothers, being sons of the same great spirit. As for building me up, sufficient is it for me that he who created me will build me up according to my just deserts. As for adorning my throne, ye can only bring substance to it from the lower kingdoms, which I desire not.
You ready to? Look at you. Joshua just slept in your clothes? Y'all was ready yesterday, huh? Today for what? I'm ready yesterday.
As for adorning my throne, ye can only bring substance to it from the lower kingdoms, which I desire not. Why will ye adorn the heavenly city of Moru? Behold.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday. You ready, boy? It's birthday, boy. Look at you. No wonder you ready.
Why?
I woke up at 12 o'clock knocking on the door, didn't
You probably did.
come give me a hug, man.
Look, y'all want to hear something cool?
Birthday, man.
We said by my birthday, our goal was to be in our first home by my birthday. My birthday has come and gone. That was March the 30th. It was like, well, we still making progress. We were approved literally on my birthday. Well, we got our pre-qualification, pre-approval. Well, what is it? Is it pre-approval or pre-qualification? Whichever one it is, pre-approved, where we actually had a letter. This is what you qualify for. So we did, although we didn't have it on my birthday, we had our pre-approval. So we're like, we still on track, probably need to add a little bit more time.
But that wasn't the biggest. I mean, we got pre-approved, but it wasn't for this amount. For what, you know what I mean?
Oh,
they gave us like a small amount. Like what?
Ooh,
the other companies like that.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't even know with Eddie if we even maxed out for the full. Because Eddie was just like, yeah, y'all pre-approved. Yeah, y'all approved.
Yeah.
We're already not approved for. He's like, they're approved for that. They're approved. I'm like, what?
Yeah, because the house we picked because so. Yeah, I'm not gonna give all that. I'm just saying. Okay. So with the first, so because it's our first one, we learning as we go. We didn't realize. I mean, I guess we should have, because in business we get 3 quotes from 3 different vendors. There's no different when you're shopping mortgages, right? At least look for 3, and compare rates and all that stuff. So we picked one. Okay, the first one we went with, we had somebody working with us, and then he told us, yeah, we can get you pre-approved for this. And we was like all super excited. But as we started looking for houses in this particular range, was like, that's our. No, we need more than, what is that? Those are like 2 bedrooms for that price here in Virginia. like giving that same price going to like Texas or something, we could have got a freaking mansion, right? But for this here in Virginia, no, that's not gonna work for us. Well, according to this, I was like, okay, how do you figure in our business with this? Well, we trying to okay. So me and my husband talk. Let's look for somebody else, right? And so we looked for somebody else, and we just kind of gave them a rundown real quick with shopping mortgages. Oh yeah, we're looking for this. Oh yeah, sure, sure. So they approved us for what we asked for, but then after they finished doing all the paperwork and all this stuff, and here's what I think. I think because this is when it adjusted. When we gave them our business returns and stuff, when they saw the amount that the business was bringing in, it seemed weird to me, right? And this particular lender was an online lender, which we learned a little lesson. We didn't go with the online lender. It seemed that when we showed them how much our business made, they dropped how much we pre-qualified for, pre-approved for, and then they said to get to this amount, they approved us for the amount we asked, but they dropped how much they approved us for and told us we need to bring this much cash. I'm like, why we got to no, we's not giving up our cash. Like, like if we have to, then it is what it is. But based on at least all the information we had learned up to this point on what we need to do, been spending the last 2 years working on our credit scores, and now we, all this. I was like, no, why did this change? Oh, because getting all the paperwork and stuff, just went through that, and that sounded like complete garbage to us. It was like, we need to get a third opinion, right? Because they was our second one, and we had even with this particular one with bringing that extra chunk of cash to close, and we had even considered, all right, this might be the best we can get. At least we get our price. So we, even with what they told us, we put in an offer. That we did two offers under that particular the online lender. But blessed be the most holy that we did not win either one of them. Right? In hindsight, now knowing what we get now, I'm like, whew, I'm so glad we didn't win those particular ones. So after this second one, we got a little bit of advice from our realtor. And because we were asking questions, we was like, okay, we don't know who else put in bids on these houses, but according to what we know, ain't nobody willing to give more earnest money than what we put down. And earnest money goes towards your closing costs. The average is like $1,000, right? Everybody knows that. $1,000 earnest money or whatever to let them know you really serious about this. It was like, okay, so this house, we know we want this. As a matter of fact, we put down way more than what is required, right? Because we wanted to make sure our deal looked the best, and we still got denied. It was like, okay, there's one or two things happening here. I say either this is not the house, I said, or something else is going on. And so we was asking our realtor at the time. We was asking her questions, and so she said, you know what? She said, the only thing I can see that they would not have chosen your offer is because you went with the online lender. She said, I'm gonna be honest. She said some sellers like to see they want to know that there's not going to be any kind of holdups. They want to know that the loan is going to go through for the the contract that they choose, right? So it's like, well, okay, so why wouldn't they choose ours? Because we like stuck on like, did anybody else put down this much? Because we only put down that much because coming from what the online lender was saying, it was like, okay, well, we got it, we can do it, so we'll put down instead of the 1,000 earnest money, we just did a way bigger chunk than that. And so it was like, why wouldn't they choose it? Because of this. I said, well, veteran, got the VA, all this plus this, and we don't have to put down anything, but this should show we are serious. She said it really just, she found out more information. It really just came down to the sellers wanted, they don't really look at online lenders as, not that they're not stable, but they're not local, right? They don't really have any kind of affiliation with them. And so they feel safer going with a local lender. So it was like, well, okay. So it was like, okay. So after that, me and my husband, we just kind of regrouped and just kind of went over some things. And we was like, you know what, this is becoming a bit much. So in our deliberation, we came across another realtor because it was like, we about to need to be out of here. The last place we was at outside, and if we don't get the dates, we're already cutting it real close. It don't look like we're going to actually close on the house before we have to be out of here, which means we're going to have to go to a hotel. And then we don't know how long we're going to be there. And if we go there, it's expensive with all of us, and we can't just have one room. We got to get two, So, and then you got to think about food, eating out all the time. So we're going to need to get something like an extended stay with a full refrigerator and a stove, So all of these things we're considering. Things are getting tight. We're getting frustrated. It was like, you know what? Forget this. Oh, yes, y'all. Hold on. What is you doing?
You need to press it.
No, I don't. I like it like that. No, to
You need a big screen.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Is that better?
Yes, it's easy.
Thank you. I appreciate that, sis. So we was like, you know what? Bump all this. We're gonna just go rent. But we were looking for short-term leases, like we'll see if we can get 6 months because we ready to buy, So we had chosen to do that. And then when we couldn't find any 6-month leases, because this was at the height of everything, seemed like the height of COVID, everybody want to buy a house. Like, what are y'all doing? Everybody, people, we see people getting laid off and can't hold on to their jobs, or people being put out of work because of COVID. Why is everybody buying a house? Does everybody have all this money set aside to buy a house right now? So we couldn't understand why everything was going like.
Told that bigger companies.
Yes.
Bigger companies was purchasing the home, making the market raise to where it wasn't individuals.
Yeah. So we found out some information from our first mortgage lender, and he was really cool. He worked with us over like the last couple of years, giving us things to help us get our credit up, do this and running simulations for us, all that. But he was the one that told us as a mortgage lender, he said, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. He said, I really like you. He said, what's really happening with the market? He said, it's not really the consumers who are purchasing up these properties. He said, big corporations, they are purchasing up these properties and holding on to them. They're using it to drive the market and to paint a picture of what they want to do. I was like, yo, that makes sense. So he said, yeah, he said, so, he said, it's almost like one of the, I forget what he said, but something kind of like what they was doing before they did like before the whole crash of 2000, the housing market crash of 2008. He said it's building nothing like this type of bubble. He said, but that's who you really have to worry about. It's the bigger corporations that are buying up all of these properties, and so without getting into all that. So anyway, make a long story just a little bit shorter. So in saying we was going to rent, we came across a rental agent who was also, we didn't know at the time.
Before you say that, I said, I think we should change realtors. I said, because she ain't got our speed. She's the older lady, never knocking that. I said, we need somebody that's our speed and our age type of deal.
Very good.
Then
yes.
After that,
okay.
Then after good.
Okay, so I don't know what time we at. Let me just tell y'all this. Yes, Robin, look, great negotiator. Look, we just kind of learned that by mistake, not realizing we needed to negotiate, right? So the first realtor we had, she was actually, how do we find her? She was actually recommended
by
the online lender, because at first we didn't have a realtor when we were working with the first mortgage lender. We were just kind of looking for stuff ourselves. It was like, why we were just doing it ourselves pretty much. And so the online lender recommended somebody from their network who was local. So it was like, oh, okay, cool. So they assigned one to us and everything. We looked over, like, okay, she, looked pretty good, looked at her stats. She's selling a house a month or whatever, but she was an older lady. But we figured, older lady, older real estate agent, you're seasoned, the market. So it was like, okay, cool. We went with it, right? So they said she should be reaching out to you within like 24 to 48 hours. I ended up reaching out to her, which should have been the first red flag. Like, sis, you want this money or not? Right? And we, from our understanding, real estate agents, like, they own it. They about their money, right? But first red flag should have been that I had to reach out to her because I was looking for emails. I didn't want to be a bugaboo. So I'm like, okay, she'll probably send an email or something. She has all the contact information. So after 48 hours, I pulled up the emails, did a search, just to kind of make sure. So I called them, got the agent's number and email and everything, and I reached out to her. It went to voicemail, but she did call back within about 20 minutes or whatever. In a few minutes. So, but she was a little bit older and she was nice and she showed us everything we wanted to look for. But we picked and chose every single thing that we looked at. Like there was no, I ain't gonna say there was no initiative to, hey, here's the list. Although she did put us on the list, but the list she gave us was like, this, what is this crap? What kind of list did you put us on? Did you just look at us and assume what we can afford? We don't want this crap, right? So we was looking, was like, Audrey, this, and every time, oh, I didn't mean to say her name. She probably don't watch the videos. I'm sorry. Nobody knows the last name. I didn't say companies or anything. I said, every time I reached out to her, I said, here are 6 more properties we want to look at, right? And so that's to tell you about what my husband just said. What we did not realize was just like you shop for mortgage lenders, you also have to shop for realtors, right? And she did not match our speed because we are energetic, we're young, and so we need somebody that can keep up with us. And although she was keeping up with us, she was already having some issues with her body and everything. So a couple times she was like, I gotta go have surgery on my foot and like all this stuff. It was like, okay. So I'm getting impatient, but not being impatient. I'm like, Father, I'm sorry. You know, she is old. I'm like, but look, we need to see this house. They're going like hotcakes and stuff. But anyway, so I'm kind of glad that it didn't work out. So we end up changing realtors and mortgage lenders for the 3rd time, right? Because we needed somebody that could match our speed and just be honest. So by coming to the decision, being a little bit frustrated and say, you know, we're just going to rent for the next 6 months to a year and just spend a little bit more time. Maybe the housing market will calm down a little bit and, you know, we could just get what we really want.
And I was just like, no, I don't want to give somebody. I said,
yeah,
either we're going to give somebody, what was it, like $24,000?
Yeah, we was going to just pay it up. We're going to chunk it.
So I was like, it don't make sense.
Yeah.
So I was like, come on, we gotta get it.
Yeah. So we just, after all that, so we saw that a couple places was for rent. So I put it in, and about 5 minutes later, a realtor calls back. And at first I wasn't going to answer the phone because I was getting like a lot of telemarketing calls, but I can't not answer the phone because a lot of business calls also come as well. And the number looked familiar to one of the delivery drivers. So I answered it. And she said, hi, my name is such and such. I just got your request to see the rental property here. I was like, oh, yes. And so she gave the information about that. And I was like, well, let me just ask you a question. I said, do they do 6-month leases? She said, no, I'm sorry. She said, unfortunately, she said they're year leases. She said, it's going to be really hard to come by a 6-month lease because she said not a lot of people are willing to move, you know, because of how everything is so crazy with the market. And she said, and other people, she said, it seemed like, and because it's a big military area that we live in, you know, people just purchasing houses, all that good stuff. I said, okay, let me just tell you what we really looking for. Maybe you can help. She said, okay. And I told her, she's like, oh, she said, that's interesting. She said, well, I do sell houses as well. She said, you know what? She said, I know you probably already have a mortgage lender. She said, and I told her what our previous realtor had said. She said, that's true. She said, it makes a very strong offer if there's a local bank plus on top of what you did. She said, because I can't see nobody not accepting your offer, you know, because you got the VA, you know, plus the amount we told her we put down, and it goes right to escrow. So if we don't use all of that goes towards closing costs anyway, right? So she said, you know what? I work with a mortgage lender they really specialize in VA loans and like all of this stuff. And she said they work really well to make sure they get you the best deal and, you know, all that good stuff. So we was like, okay. But what we found out was, she said, now I'll put you on a list of different things. And what we found out, she was really energetic. It was like, we really like her. She said, and if you want to, she was a firecracker. Look, it was like, we like her. And so it was like, she said, and if you don't mind, she said, I know you're on a rental list. She said, but you mind if I put you on the list for the houses for sale? I was like, oh, yes, please do. I said, because if we can get what we want, I was like, we really don't want to go to a hotel. I said, but it is what it is. Even if we had to spend like a couple weeks there while we're going through the transition, that's fine. She said, okay. And so that's where everything started picking up. And so it was like when we got to her, it was like everything fell in place. Her energy like maxed ours. And she was the one, she was like, hold on, I got something for you. She was the one at this time, she was sending us list of houses. She's like, this, I gave her the requirement. She said, boom, here you go. It was like, yes, we want to see them all as soon as possible, right? So anytime we needed something, she was like there. It was like everything we asked, she was back with an answer within 5 minutes if she didn't know, and everything just seemed to work out. Even the mortgage lender, he went through, and we just kind of went through everything. And I told y'all before about the cavers situation we ran into while I was in the student loan thing. But anyway, I forgot about the other mortgage lender. Eddie and them is actually the fourth one. Because remember the first local one that Audrey referred us to?
Lisa, I think Lisa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She said she was the one that really said you popped up and she said we're still saying you're short in cables. I was like, all of that is done. Everything was consolidated.
At
She
her
said
time, everything was being converted over.
yeah.
We got caught up in the mix of that. But
Yeah.
we got to Eddie, everything was already converted over.
Yeah, the
You can
student
see
loan
that.
company, Navient, sold all their student loans to Aid Vantage, and all in the midst of all this. I'm just like,
Man, come on,
if another thing happened. Okay. All right. So, but anyway, shop around, people. We went through this whole long process. But anyway, make a long story short, this is the end of the thing we actually signed today. So, yeah, we got to go. We have 45 minutes. I'm running my mouth.
You can talk.
I can't. Okay, let's finish this chapter.
Oh, look, mad.
I knew he was going to stop me sooner or later. Okay, verse 25. God answered them, saying, Ye cannot serve me. I have no servants. Serve ye Jehovah only. Behold, we are all brothers, being sons of the same great spirit. As for building me up, sufficient is it for me that he who created me will build me up according to my just deserts. As for adorning my throne, ye can only bring substance to it from the lower kingdoms, which I desire not. Why will ye adorn the heavenly city of Moru? Behold, it is but a resting place on the great journey to the kingdoms of endless light. In a few hundred years, at most, not only I, but my host will rise from this place to return to it, to return not to it forever. And lastly, to be a self God, as is Ahura, is to own all things possible and hold on thereto. To be a God as I am is to own nothing and to retain nothing, but to be forever giving away all one receiveth. Said I not to you before, begin with your own hosts and exalt them. Inasmuch as ye ask for subjects, behold, the Father gave unto you. Think not that he will suffer ye now to cast them aside or to barter them off. Ooh, that's good. Nor shall ye suffer them to become wanderers, nor to return back to the earth as Druhas. As much as ye raised up the kingdoms that have been entrusted to you, so will ye also be raised up. So remember, when it's time for them to raise, especially if they've been on the other side of light, all that they have led astray, they have to make sure that they're in the right lane and they're leading them appropriately, right? Thanks, Jen. Verse 27, and they have to, for whatever level of knowledge that the current false gods have, everybody in their kingdom must come up to that level, at least the level of light, not the false things. Everybody has to be brought up to that level. That's the requirement for them to go higher. Watch out, Pooh. They have to bring everybody up to their level of light, and then they will all graduate to the next level together. None will be higher than another, right? Verse 27. Nevertheless, if ye desire to affiliate with Jehovah's if ye desire to affiliate with Jehovah's kingdoms, the way is open unto you, and your first labor would be to gather together all your hosts and to labor amongst them, teaching them wisdom, strength, and individuality equal with yourselves. And when the lowest of them all is so risen, then can ye enter the kingdoms of the Father, as ye have. Bella, shush, y'all. Listen, as ye have had the profit of your subjects for hundreds of years, return ye now unto them service for service. Jehovah is justice. Verse 28. The sub gods made no answer to this for a while, but Jehovah moved upon their hearts, and they perceived. Hey, guys, shush. The sub gods made no answer to this for a while, but Jehovah moved upon their hearts, and they perceived wisdom and justice, and they repented bitterly, bewailing the loss of 1,000 years in which they had espoused kingdoms, but they had neither power nor learning sufficient to extricate themselves, so they petitioned God for more light. Whereupon God affiliated them and appointed Vishnu Lord unto them and their hosts. And Vishnu took 300,000 teachers, captains, physicians, nurses, and laborers, and went to them in Matraeus, a heavenly place to the west of Vidu, and there established a lordly division with messengers in connection with Moru and Harati. And Vishnu sent his captains with sufficient forces under command of the sub gods to arrest such as had become wandering spirits or had returned to the earth as Druhas. And whilst these were on the, I'm sorry. And whilst these were on this duty, Vishnu organized his lorddom, and this was the first lorddom established in heaven, which is to say, as mortals on earth have military stations, so was the lorddom of Vishnu. So I know Vishnu sounds familiar with everybody, so but remember the original ones with like the popular names that we hear in all the different types of religion. Remember that over the years, things have been perverted. Those gods and lords who risen up on the opposite side of light, which is to say the darker kingdoms, they took those names of people who were completely righteous during their time, and they appropriated them names to themselves, and they began to call themselves Vishnu or whatever, or Buddha. Buddha is one of them, right? They took on the name Buddha. Buddha actually has another name which I forgot how to pronounce the original name, but people began to know him
I
as
can change
Buddha.
my outfit. This is how panties and I can't jump. At Sky Zone.
Okay,
Who was going on?
I don't know exactly what time we're gonna go, or if we're gonna leave that for tomorrow, which I think we might leave it for tomorrow. It's Saturday, and we'll have time to let your cousins know. Okay?
Mom.
Yes.
Who was going to Sky Zone today?
I don't know. Just wait a minute. We'll figure it out. Hold on.
My toys today.
Chill out. We'll talk about this in a minute. I'm almost done. Yeah, so that's that. But we going when we get there's actually a whole section in here with a few of those names that we know of today in the different religions, and it's going to go through the details and how that was done. Okay. Verse 30. Jehovah's voice had spoken to God in Diva, saying, behold, the time is coming when the sub-kingdoms of Ahura, the false, will begin to revolt, and they have thousands of millions of slaves who will strive to go back to the earth and to dwell with mortals. They dwell in darkness, and thou shalt not suffer them to regain the earth, lest the races of men go down in darkness, even as before the submersion of Pan. Hey, listen, y'all not gonna fight to sit in the same chair. Stop it.
Okay, I want this on my birthday.
Guys, listen.
No, this is now.
Get that.
But this is now on my birthday.
All right, Pooh, watch out.
Mom, I can end it only and not
Oh,
Zen.
yes. Sit down. Sit down, have a seat. Sit down. She asked first. Sit down. Guys, I'm about to kick y'all out.
That's not fair.
Oh, it is.
Myself.
Isaiah,
Sit.
get out of her chair.
Need someone.
Listen, you ain't gonna act like that. I don't care if it is your birthday.
Y'all didn't do that not even once. Not even me.
Okay. Verse 30. Jehovah's voice had spoken to God in Diva, saying, behold, the time is coming when the sub-kingdoms of Ahura the false will begin to revolt, and they have 1,000 million of slaves who will strive to go back to the earth and dwell with mortals. They dwell in darkness, and thou shalt not suffer them to regain the earth, lest the races of men go down in darkness, even as before the submersion of Pan, which is also, we haven't talked about Pan in a little while here because that was at the beginning. Remember, Pan is the time of the flood. And if you go back to the beginning, for those who weren't here, it explained what actually happened that caused the flood with the raining and all that stuff, and the continent of Pan, or its original name Waga, which we know today as Pangea, All of that happened at the flood time, right? And it tells you exactly what happened and how everything was submerged with the sinking of Pan.
I'm not coming at Sky.
Okay, which it never rise
By
again.
myself.
Bella, chill. They dwell in darkness, and thou shalt not suffer them to regain the earth,
With
lest the
Jeremiah.
races of men go down in darkness, even as before the submersion of Pan. For which reason thou shalt establish a lorddom. Bella, Bella, you don't have to do all that. Stop. You're egging them on.
You told Zay stop moving.
For which reason thou shalt establish a lorddom and raise a sufficient army to shield the inhabitants. All right, boys, get out. Come on, let's go. Let's go. Come on. You too, Josh. I know you ain't doing anything. Let's go. You got 5 seconds to get out this door. 1, 2. Y'all moving a little bit too slow because I'm gonna get up from this chair. 3. I don't care if it is your birthday, little light skin. Let's go. You're doing the most. Oh. For which reason thou shalt establish a lorddom and raise a sufficient army to shield the inhabitants of the earth, and thou shalt make Vishnu thy Lord in my behalf. When it was known in Cetus, the heavenly place of Ahura, that 60 sub-gods with their hosts had affiliated with Jehovah's kingdoms, general disobedience to Ahura was manifested by the remaining sub-gods, of whom there were yet more than 800 who had within their dominions upward of 200 million angels, all slaves, and with light of no other heavenly place than the small precinct where they had been kept in drudgery hundreds of years. The voice of Jehovah came to God, saying, My son, take advantage of the seed of disaffection in Ahura's kingdom. Send thou an Otivan of great power throughout the heavenly kingdoms, and thou shalt put trumpeters in the Otivan, and they shall prophesy the dawn of Dan within 200 years. God perceived he had his workmen. God perceived, and he had his workmen build an Otivan of great power. And he provided trumpeters and sent them forth, saying to them, 10 years shall ye travel in the heavenly places around about the whole earth, prophesying. In less than 200 years, Jehovah's Etherian hosts are coming. Prepare ye for the resurrection. His kingdoms are open for the weary. His lords and gods will give you rest. Ahura summoned his council of false gods, hoping they might invent a remedy to counteract so great a prophecy. And he and his council sat 40 days and 40 nights in their heavenly capital, but there was no high light amongst them, merely each one giving his opinion. But at the end of 40 days, Ahura resolved upon the following method to send a prophecy of his own. Accordingly, he had an Otivan built and sent trumpeters forth with these words to wit, I, Ahura Mazda, only son of all nothing presence. He said of all nothing presence. Okay. I, Ahura Mazda, only son of the all nothing presence, personated in my very self, proclaim from my all highest heavenly judgment seat. Hear my words, O ye gods, and tremble. Hear me, O ye angels, and fall down. Hear me, O mortals, and bow down to my decrees. Behold, I sent my fire ship, prophesying that in less than 200 years I would come in a dawn of Dan. But ye obeyed not, ye were defiant before me. Then I swore an oath against all the world, ye shall know my power. Then I came down out of my holy high heaven, and I am already come. Now is the dawn of Dan. I send my trumpeters first. After them come my lashers and enchainers, whose captain is Davis, whose God is Anramanus. I will have mine, and I will give drooks and druhas by thousands and tens of thousands over the everlasting torments. Ahura's gods had become acquainted with him during the hundreds and hundreds of years, and they no longer trembled at his commandments. In their hearts, they knew he could not do what he professed. They knew his prophecies were vain boastings. Yea, his very trumpeters believed not what they proclaimed. And that is the end of chapter 12. And we're at 59 minutes. So we're going to go ahead and end it here. I know we only got through one chapter because my whole long-winded story, but super excited. But we'll finish this up. It's a 13. What's this? Well, 17 chapters, right? Or 18? 18 chapters. So we will probably finish Sunday. We might. Just if I read straight through without any stories tomorrow, and I can't promise y'all ahead of time that I'm not going to tell y'all a story. We'll finish tomorrow, or if I don't get long-winded with another story. But if we don't finish tomorrow, simply because just regular reading, we just don't have the time to finish it. But we will because it's Saturday, so we might. I don't know. Irregardless, we'll be done by the end of Sunday, right? So Sunday will be the last day of reading the book of Divinity. So with that being said, beautiful people, thank y'all for hanging out. We got to get ready to get out of here because we got to drive to Virginia Beach. It is Friday, July the 1st, 2022, day 147 of year 4, reading through the books of the Law and the Prophets, and of the 4-year consecutive day count, day 1165. We read the book of Divinity, which is found in Oahspe, and we read pages 250 to page 252, which was only chapter 12. Girl, go this way. I don't know why I keep trying to use that.
You forgot.
Yeah, I did. Since I forgot. And you tried to tell me yesterday that it was broke. Okay.
Yeah,
so with that being
broken
said,
box.
y'all, yeah, I'm gonna ask you a question. Stop. Look, quit. Y'all quit. Shayla, hey girl, hey. Oahspe
down.
College University said, you notice Uhura went through educational systems and ended up a false god? Absolutely. It actually talks about that. You may not have been here, but at the end of chapter, and I know you've been reading this way longer than me, but somebody who wasn't here and saw your comment, it actually tells you about that in the book of Divinity, chapter 5. Tootie, stop. Reread the whole chapter 5, but I'll just I'll reread from verse 8 to verse 12 real quick, because since my husband in the shower, I still got a few more minutes. But just in case those who weren't here in regards to this, how do you go through how do you go through a whole education from the side of light under y'all's kingdom of light, being taught, educated on everything good, even to teach you about remember there's a course where they begin to learn how to create light and create darkness, right? They learn about the ways of mortals, how they act, like all this stuff. How do you go through all this and still choose to fall onto the side of the dark kingdoms? Well, the book of Divinity explains this in chapter 5, right? But even okay, so listen, I read verse 8, starting at verse 8. It said, and it's on page 243 for y'all to actually have the book. Div decreed the 49th Deviant law. He shall now be promoted to restoring, nursing, and caring for the Druhas who are being rescued by the captains, generals, and lords, in which service he shall be for 30 years. Okay, going back up. At the very beginning, they asked the question, if a man die and be not a Zarathustran, what then? So this whole from here on to the end talks about like unbelievers, right? So a lot of times, those who are unbelievers while they're still in the flesh, a lot of times, not all the time, but a portion of them after they die, and even once they done spent their time in like the lower levels, haunting everybody or whatever, and once they're delivered from the hells, this talks about how they're being cleaned up. And then once they're cleaned up, they're restored to their right mind. They'll be put in the track of education, to grow appropriately, like y'all designed it, right? And so they went through that. And so then it says, and I just jump back down, verse 8. Div decreed the 49th Deviant law. He shall now be promoted to restoring, nursing, and caring for the Druhas who were being rescued by the captains, generals, and lords, in which service he shall be for 30 years. But in both the 48th and 49th Deviant laws, it was afterward decreed, whatsoever service he did in mortal life in these respects shall stand to his credit twofold in spirit. Div decreed, if he now acknowledge and practice faith in the Great Spirit. So before he passed away, he was not practicing faith in the only one true, real living God, the Great Spirit, whom we refer to as Yah, or the Most High. If when he died, he didn't believe that there was somebody higher than him, he would end up being a Druha until rescued, right? And once they rescued him, restoring him, they put him through the little training process, letting him know there is a higher light, restoring him to true knowledge. He will still have to choose, right? And it says, verse 9, Div decreed, if he now acknowledge after the portion of restoration and actually begin to serve and help restore other Druhas and seeing the process and how this happens, Div decreed, if he now acknowledge the practice if he now acknowledge and practice faith in a Great Spirit, he shall be promoted to the college of creation and taught to create light and darkness. After this, he shall be taught to sargus flowers and trees and clothes, and to take elementary lessons in music and expression, in which branches he shall serve 50 years. And then he shall be entitled to examination. Right? So after all of this, learning all of these things, how to do this, how to met when it says he was taught to sargus flowers and trees, that's literally being able, remember when they sargus, if a spirit sarguses, that means they understand how to get a they how to create a body, like to manifest themselves in bodily form, like with flesh, right? So spirits who are down here, if they haven't risen to that level of education, they don't know how to do it. And so they will always be unseen unless somebody hires sarguses them so you can see them, or you can see in the spirit, your eyes are open or whatever. But there are spirits who know how to do it and spirits that don't know how to do it, right? And most of them on a lower level don't know how, right? But the ones who do know how and are still on a darker kingdom, you know that they made it somewhere higher in their education in the spirit and decided to fall back and go back to earth and just not do right, right? So even in spirit, it seems that our great creator never takes away our what we would call our choice or free will. He always lets us decide, right? Okay, so listen. Div decree, if he now acknowledges and practices faith in the Great Spirit, he shall be promoted to the college of creation and taught to create light and darkness. After this, he shall be taught to sargus flowers and trees and clothes, and to take elementary lessons in music and expression, in which branches he shall serve 50 years. And then he shall be entitled to examination. And if he can withstand the third grade of light, he shall be ranked bridegroom of Om. And remember, Om is another name for the great creator, right? Also, the primordial sound. Somebody sent me something good. I'm going to post it. I'm going to share it with y'all. I thought it was really good. A little bit deeper definition of Om. This was the 50th deviant law. The 51st thus provided, if he doth not yet comprehend faith in the all person or Yah, he shall be granted freedom. Listen, if to this point, after he's going through the education of light and learn all the way up to this and actually spent years doing this and practicing it with the angels or the spiritual realm and with mortals, if he chooses, then listen. And it tells you right here in these last 3 verses how the false lords and gods are created. If he doth not yet comprehend faith in the all person, he shall be granted freedom to all the places where he hath served, and he shall be emancipated from all lords and gods, and from the labor and from all labor and education, and honorably discharged. Y'all honorably discharges them, right? And honorably discharged to pursue whatsoever he desireth in any place in heaven or earth. Nor shall the lords nor gods take more notice of him than due respect or honor, right? So even those who stick on the side of light, Yah says, honor them, show them due respect, right? Listen. Whereupon Div, son of all light, spake, saying, this also shall be part and parcel of the deviant law, which is to say, of the latter class, meaning those who go through this and they decide to go back to the dark side or whatever, of the latter class, this particular class, of the latter class rise the false gods and false lords that oft set up kingdoms of their own in atmosphere. They shall not rise above the second resurrection, which we can see where we're at in the book of Divinity in chapter what we just finished 12. They got to a point where they couldn't go any higher, right? You can't even be resurrected to the next higher heaven because of what you're doing down here on the first, right? You cannot rise above what? You cannot rise above the second resurrection, right? So above that, like you're stuck because all that's above that tends to light all the time. You can't get higher than that, right? So that's they put a cap on themselves when they choose to be a false god and false lord. And if you run into any of them, you know that they're not higher than the second heaven or the second resurrection, right? So you know who you're dealing with. Listen. Whereupon Div, son of all light, spake, saying, this also shall be a part and parcel of the deviant law, which is to say, of the latter class rise the false gods and false lords that oft set up kingdoms of their own in atmosphere. They shall not rise above the second resurrection. The voice of Jehovah came to God, saying, without the disbeliever in spirits, mortals could not find courage to smite serpents. Without false gods and false lords, the lowest Druhas would never be put to work. They who cannot be risen by persuasion may be aroused by less scrupulous masters who make slaves of them, right? So Yah uses everything, right? He don't waste nothing. Even if you decide to turn against me, we'll let you go. We'll let you run amok, so to speak. But I know how to reel all that back in, right? Because you're going to eventually come back to me. You're going to have to come back, right? Because your kingdom eventually, after a period of time, that's just how it's designed. We were designed to continue learning, to continue growing. When people reach a cap and it's like, okay, what next? What next? What next? And that's kind of what happened to us, right? When we was reading through the Bible every single day for 3 years. And I did that live for 3 years with y'all, but I had been doing it since 2013. And it's like, okay, there has to be something else. And that's when we realized, okay, something is missing. We were able to pick up things like, wait a minute, did y'all notice how the voice changed? It said this was Yah speaking, but the tone changed. This is not the same person speaking, right? So it's the same thing that happened. And we began to revolt against the current lords and gods, right? And in our case, it was Christianity. In other cases, some people may come out of Islam or the Buddhist faith or whatever, but that's what's happening to us. We're turning on the system of false religion, seeking out the one true only God, because we know y'all have not been able to give us answers, and the answers that y'all give us is foo-foo, is crap, is garbage, and it's not tending to light, so we find ourselves in this process, even with what Uhura Maza is doing, right? It was like, you can't be it. You can't be it, right? We don't trust anything else you're saying. You're telling us lies. We don't believe what you say to us anymore, right? So that's where from Oahspe College University, when he said, did you notice how Uhura went through the educational system of light and still ended up a false god? That's exactly why. That's what happens on their process. All right. So, but it's good information to know to help us be able to sort through things and pay attention and observe, right? Okay, I'll send an email to you with a complete chart showing how many years a spirit stayed in educational systems. I love that a sister is sharing this with me. Oh, and thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, send that chart. And now if you don't mind, if you send it to me, unless you say don't share it, I almost like screenshot it and share it with everybody, right? Because if it's really, really good, and I'm sure it will be based on, wait a minute, I'm literally about to end this, based on your many years I know of you actually reading through this on your channel, from my research, I know it's going to be good. So I'll be looking for it. With that being said, y'all, we got to get out of here. May y'all the great spirit, the great creator, the most high, the most holy. Bless you all in all that you do. I love y'all. See y'all back here tomorrow, 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Oh, you do that one.
Okay, you do that one, Zay. Let her in this one. Okay. Bye, y'all.
No!
End it.
No, wait for that.
Oh, get your mouse. Okay. And, oh, yep. Move it there.